everybody.
Hello, hello.
We are back with Faith to Stand podcast, and we have guests. And I'm Michael, and that's Teresa. And our guests are
Dennis and Lulu Massawe, our good friends for many, many years. And so first I'm going to tell like my side of how we met. And then I'm going to let them tell their side of how we met. But for those of you that have been watching or listening or know us or whatever, you know that I was worship pastor at the church that we attend now for many, 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 many years. And so when I first started leading worship at our church, it was very, very small. It was in the beginning stages, but we knew that it was going to grow. And so that was great. But in the meantime, the worship team was me, my daughter, Noelle, our son, Trace, and our good friends, John and Kathy Wiltsey. And that was the extent of it. And so I was really desperate to add to the worship team. And so since the church was really small, you knew when new people came, right? So I'm scoping that out all the time, right? Looking like, I'm asking everybody, do you play an instrument? Do you sing? You know, most of it was like, no. I did grab Renee Stevens one Sunday and she kind of started helping me. But there was one Sunday that this new family came and afterwards I met them and found out that Dennis sang and played guitar and led worship. And I was like, I was like, I need you. But tell us your side of the story, like how you ended up in California and at this particular juncture.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having us. We really appreciate. So we are in Ohio, a longtime friend of mine.
It didn't start in Ohio, though. They had to go a little back there.
Oh, yes. You can tell the accent. You can tell the accent from Africa. So in Tanzania, we're originally from Tanzania, and we came to...
And he was famous. He was a reggae star. Yes. So don't let him tell you anything different.
So we came here, just a young couple to the States. I came for studies. And then after about maybe 3 years or 6 years, I think. Yeah, a friend of mine, we caught up with a friend of mine who had come to the States way back. And so he told me, hey, what are you doing in Ohio? Come where, the real players are, California. So I said, okay, I'll visit first because I have a family. He was single. So I came over and exactly in Murrieta. And I liked it. So I told my wife, look, we're going to have to move because...
It was in the middle of winter. He left and there was a blizzard.
I hated it. So I told her, look, there's life here. It's sunny. There's palm trees.
We don't have winter.
Just like where we come from. So we moved over here. And one of the conditions we told our friend is, please look for a church, because that's very important for us. A church that is closer to you, maybe 3-4 churches, that way we could visit. So this particular Saturday, as we were driving down Murrieta Hot Springs, we see this announcement that there's a church service tomorrow. And I told Lulu, hey, you know what? Might as well just stop by Saturday evening. We stopped by, we met the late Pastor Greg, asked our questions, gave us the pamphlets, invited us. He was very, very kind. So we came to church on Sunday and told my wife, look, we're just going to sit, listen, and then no commitments. We'll go back.
His exact words.
Oh, when did you find out that the part of the quest was finding the African?
Oh, yeah. So when we went back home, we told our friend, like, hey, we found a church down the street. We lived off of Hunter, and we're going to visit tomorrow. And he said, oh, I've heard of that church. They have an African pastor. So we got really excited. Like, whoa, great. I mean, not that a pastor who's not African is bad, but we're like, hey, someone from
Feels like
home.
Yeah.
So we walked into church like really excited. We get to meet an African pastor. And pastor gets up and the worship team was great. The pastor preaches a powerful message. We're waiting, like the African pastor is going to come anytime now. We're looking at the front chairs. The pastor's not here. So when we were talking to Pastor Teresa, she was excited about music and singing. Her and Dennis are talking, and I'm like, finish talking so I can ask my question. And so I asked, hey, sorry, I have a question. Well, we heard there's an African pastor.
Because he's white. Like yeah.
Oh, okay, I skipped that part. Because the pastor that was phenomenal and was preaching was white.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, but where's the African pastor? We want to meet him. And she's like, that was the African pastor. And I'm looking at her like, what don't you know about Africa? And she says,
Not
no.
much, but yeah.
I'm like, no, that wasn't. She says, no, our pastor is South African. And I'm like, oh, how oblivious could I have been, So that became the inside joke.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're looking for the African pastor. But yes, we did meet the African pastor.
I couldn't let it die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
so from there, I just turned to her. I said, mid-service, I said, look.
Well, you have to remember, he said, we're going to visit 3 or 4 churches.
Mid-service, I tapped. I looked at her, I said, look, I think this is going to be a home church. So she turned to me and said, kind of shocked, like, but you said
3, 4.
3, 4 churches around. I said, I just feel in my heart that, you know what, might as well settle here.
Like,
I
okay.
said, okay,
Yes,
cool.
sir.
So that's how we ended up. And then that particular day, we right away signed up, into the membership
Membership.
Yeah,
classes.
it happened to be the Sunday of the month.
Yeah.
Like, it was like once a month that they did the classes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you're a member now? Come on, next week?
Yeah.
We're going to sing?
Told me Tuesday at 6 days rehearsal. That was the quickest audition. No audition, no anything.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Amen.
But she does quick rehearsals.
Yeah,
You're
I do.
famous for
I
it.
like it. I like
Yeah.
it short and sweet,
Boom, boom,
like
boom.
to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us, tell us the story, which I didn't know all the details, but of how that you guys met
Mm.
when you were young. Or-
I think I'll let her tell the story. How she got.
Yeah, how I got.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we met in Tanzania. You have the high schools are mostly boarding schools.
Okay.
So you go to school for 6 months, you get a month off, you go home, and then after a month you go back. You're locked in. You cannot leave the school premises for 6 months. You're here to study.
Wow.
So I met some girls there that were believers, and I gave my life to Jesus. And one of the girls was from the city where I lived, which was like 30 hours bus ride away. And so she said, when you go back home, because I was going to graduate and now go home. And she sent me to this church, go and plug in and this and that and the third. When I got to the church, I joined the choir because I thought I could sing, or I loved to sing. And Dennis was the choir director. I was like, oh, okay. So, I would sing and practice, but he gave me extra, attention because I couldn't sing so well. So I wasn't taken aback. Like, oh, do this, do that. But I started noticing, he would really give me more and more attention, pointers. And I was like, oh my God, he has such great vision for me to become a great singer.
I was a kind man.
Very kind
Very
man.
kind.
But that's how we met. Well, fast forward, he was like, yeah, I'll marry you and then I'll teach you how to sing at home. That was his pickup line. And I was like, oh, wow. I would love that. Needless to say, 29 years later,
Yes.
he hasn't given me the extra lessons,
Oh, my
but
goodness.
we're still married. So,
I'm still working on
I have
it.
a question. Did he have the hair back then, or was it?
no, he had a low cut and then he was bald for many, many years. He would shave it all
Yeah.
off. And then he grew the hair to here, and then he cut it up. Yeah, he's Samson, like.
Okay. I'm just envious. I can't see that. I can't do that.
I think he's growing it out now. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about like how you guys' backgrounds growing up were so different, and you know, and wanting to get an education but not being able to, and what you're doing now.
Two polar opposites. I grew up from the ghetto.
Ghetto.
You know.
No, the African
the
ghetto.
African ghetto.
It's
This is a
different.
nicer ghetto here.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
African.
African ghetto is authentic.
Wow.
So,
The original.
Original. So I grew up in the ghetto, as you would say here, and the only prospect was hustle. Find after school. If you didn't make it to the university, then figure out.
Yeah.
And being a firstborn in Africa comes with a lot of responsibilities. So you literally grow faster being a firstborn mostly. And so I knew I had my dad, there was my siblings, and my dad was sick all the time. He had broken his back, and he was really, I had to help.
Yeah.
So, and coming from a somewhat blended family, my mom was married, my dad, they had parted company. But through it all, school was something, okay, I understand gaining knowledge, going to school, but that's a far thing for me. So work was my thing. So I ended up self-educating myself to get into the TV production industry. And I did quite well. Worked in one of the major stations. And then I met her. Now she'll talk about her family. She, from my perspective, though she might deny that, from my perspective, she was a bougie girl. And I remember
the bougie girl, the ghetto guy.
My mom one day, she saw the picture, asked me about her. She said, "Oh, you gonna marry from the bougie girl, bougie family? Well, you better have your money." Anyway, so I'll pass it on to her.
But yeah, growing up from a middle class family in Tanzania, my parents were both educators. Actually, they were high school teachers in a boarding school.
Oh, okay.
They went to boarding school and then they taught boarding school. But my mother she was a lecturer at the University of Dar es Salaam. And back in her day, it was the only university in the country. So it was really like upper echelon, and she got her master's degree in the 70s. Like as a woman in Africa in the 70s, big deal.
Wow.
And just the university is also among the top universities in Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she, all I knew was reading, studying. My dad had a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. So in our family, it was an unspoken rule. You go to school, you get your bachelor's, your master's, your doctorate. And my dad always said to me, if a man wants to marry you when you grow up, he better have at least a master's degree. Otherwise, don't even come to my door. I mean, if we had time, we would talk about the African context and bride price. And you don't just like, oh, I'll marry you, let's go get married. No, it has to go under the scrutiny of parents. And if the parents say no, it's not happening. So my dad was like, yeah, you better find a man who has education. Otherwise, don't even bring him here.
Wow.
So, we met, fell in love. I mean, he was going to teach me singing, but besides that, one of the first things Dennis told me was, I really wish I could go to school. I was like, just do it. And he's like, you don't understand. I have responsibility. I got to take care of my dad and work. So I told him, I said, where I come from, we go to school and I know how to go to school. And he was like, well, I wish I could go to like America. I was like, yeah, we'll get there. So that was, I think, one of the very first big goals that we set. And we started praying about it.
Yeah.
As, we were still courting, we prayed about it. And so when we came to the United States, we came because he was going to go to school.
How did you convince your dad?
Oh, yeah. That part.
Yeah, I just you skipped right over
Yeah.
that.
So my father, eventually, when it was time for him, okay, the African context is a process. His people had to write a letter to my people.
Wow.
So his people wrote a letter and they had to give it to a specific person who brings it. And they can't take it to my dad. I had to take it to my grandma. They gave the letter and my grandma gives it to my dad. And so he reads the letter.
Wow.
Oh, our young man has found a beautiful
So
flower.
metaphorical language. It's
A
never
beautiful
direct.
flower in your home, and we would
Oh.
like to come and pick the flower. So they understand, which means they're asking for a meeting
Okay.
with my dad and his people, my uncles, all the males of the family.
Wow.
And so that's the meeting where they discuss whether or
That's
not.
got to be kind of intimidating.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brother.
I mean, I can't imagine.
We
that.
were fasting and praying.
Man.
Wow.
Mind you, we had a relationship for like 4.5 years, and we had prayed, planned. I was in India in school. He was in Tanzania, writing letters back and forth, prayed and planned. And now I had graduated. I was back in Tanzania. We're planning the wedding, but we got to go through this process.
Wow.
And if they don't approve, we can't get married.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Okay.
And so my dad was like,
You can, but like you're now
But everybody's
Oh,
rude and
Okay.
Mad.
yeah, you can't.
disrespectful.
You really
Yeah. Okay.
can't.
Okay. Yeah.
So now my dad had known Dennis because the way we played it out, well, you can't like, oh, this is my boyfriend. They come visit like we do it here, like our kids do it. Like you can't. So I had a cousin who became good friends with Dennis. So Dennis would come visit us because he was my cousin's friend. And we got away with it that way. And so my father was like, this letter, oh, this Dennis, I know Dennis. And I know he has a high school education. And that was a problem. And so he's supposed to call this meeting and he kept putting it off. And if this meeting doesn't happen, we're not moving forward. But we had a date, 6 months, so we're in month 4, 2 months to go. We, got a venue for a wedding, which we weren't supposed to. Like we're doing things undercover. The meeting hasn't happened. So I had to confront my father. In the African context, it doesn't happen.
Mm.
And I said, Dad, we need to talk. He's like, about what? About the letter. He's like, you can't talk to me about the letter. Your grandmother gave me that letter. She's the only person who can talk to me about it. I was like, no, we're going to talk. So I sat my father down and I was like, I want to get married. Like unheard things.
Oh, wow.
And I knew when he married my mother, she was my age. And I said, Dad, when you married my mother, she was my age. I don't understand what this big issue is. I was daddy's princess.
Yeah.
And he had a vision. I was going to go to Sweden and do my master's degree. And he had this whole plan. And I was like, no, I want to get married. And we've been praying about it. My dad was not a believer. He's like, praying about it? What do you know about life? This man is not educated. This man is. So, I had to talk him off the ledge and prayerfully. We had spent a lot of time praying. He had time to ask me questions and make sure, like, are you really ready for this? And I convinced him. So he called his brothers and they responded to the letter and had the meeting. And they said, okay,
Wow.
she can get married.
At
Wow.
least what went for me was I had a job.
Yeah.
So this is why it was very important.
Job is good.
Yeah.
This is why it was very important for me to help him fulfill his dream of going to school.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was his dream, but it was also my father's, I guess, wish, desire. He wished. So I was like, oh, you wish he went to school? He wants to go to school.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So getting his
Wow.
bachelor's, then I pushed him to do his master's.
I don't know why, man.
Then I
She just
pushed him
kept
to
pushing
start
me,
his
man. She just
doctorate.
pushed me. I'm asking her, why don't you go do it?
So,
You know?
yeah, I'm sure my father has passed on now, but, I'm sure he's going, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But
And
I think
see-
he was definitely happy because when I graduated my seminary, our late father was still alive. So,
yeah, I remember
So
that.
I think he was fulfilled that her daughter, was focused
Or
And
even when you got
eventually-
your master's, it was still LM.
Oh, it was okay.
Yeah.
so-
So it was really like, oh, so they know what they're doing.
My
Because-
dad was happy, my husband's happy, and I'm happy.
Yeah. And so your bachelor's was in what?
biblical studies,
And then you got
And
your
then-
master's.
strategic communication.
And then now you're working on your doctorate.
Yes.
And that's in,
Or organizational leadership.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. I mean, because you don't ever know what God
Yeah,
is
Yeah.
up to and how he wants it.
absolutely.
That's why, okay, for the guys who want to marry,
Ah,
pray for a good wife.
yeah.
Because she between me and her, she is a scholar, but she pushed me. She can easily get back I'm working on it now for her to go back and do a master's and all that and all that stuff. But she has matriculated in other areas,
Right,
in the
yeah.
financial industry,
Right.
so it kind of washes out.
Yeah.
Because I'm equally interested and invested in seeing that she reaches her dreams, just as she's pushing me.
Right.
I'm equally interested in pushing her dreams as well.
Yeah.
This would be a good time to segue into what they do in their
Yeah.
ministries and stuff like that, because you laid the foundation in the stories. So
Mhm.
tell us about the ministries and what you're doing now and what you want to do.
Okay, ministry-wise, we started after being in the music for a while, worship. I figured, okay, how can I be more impact than just singing? And then I also listened to my wife's passion, which is to touch the hearts of people in a practical ways, especially orphans and those who are underprivileged. And then, of course, she would also tell me, look at where you came from and how can you give back? So I said, oh, you know what? This is great. And so at one time, I became a World Vision artist also for a very certain period of time, kind of representing. And then that started, okay, if we are doing it for World Vision, why don't we do it ourselves? Then we prayed about it, of course. Okay, is it something that we should do? And then at that time also, we had already been getting invitations to teach. She's teaching, I'm teaching maybe, or whatever. So we started the ministry, the Fountain of Life International Center. Our website is www.theflic.org. And we've been operating for about over 12 years, just low key, but not big in terms of, buildings and all that, but really reaching out to specific people who would reach to us, maybe a pastor wanting to add a roof in the village, maybe somebody needing school fees, maybe a woman who is wanting to start up a little business to support her family. So that's how we've been able to serve. And then on the other hand, we also serve in working with different churches, ministries, pastors, and our mission is to impact, improve, and empower lives through faith, family, and finances.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also important to go back to the pre-marriage era when we were, going to the same local church. Dennis was heavily involved in music ministry, and they would go out and sing in colleges and secondary school. They would sing, and then someone would share a message and, make an altar call, and people would get saved. And I remember I would tag along as somebody who would pray, like in the prayer ministry, because I couldn't really sing. So they would do that, and they would do concerts in the city, and, people would get saved. And we would go out like street evangelism. So we grew up in the tapestry of just going out and reaching out and sharing the gospel. So when we got married, that was one of our, we decided we're not going to let that die. We left the country, we came out here, and we were going to continue ministry even outside the local church. So we've been heavily involved in outreach, just going out, sing. He would sing, and I would share. We kept that, going. What?
Kind of lost your voice there.
Did you lose
Okay,
me?
no, you're back.
I'm
You're
back.
Cool.
See, you
Yeah.
can tell I'm not like all this. So we did a lot of that as ministry. And then him and I had a common thread. He grew up in, like he calls it the ghetto, underprivileged community. But I remember my father coming home when I was a little girl. He came back home at like 10 p.m. Back in the day in Africa, 10 p.m. is like 2 a.m. Pitch black, like dark. And he came home with this woman. I was like, what? Government official. He had a car from, his office. The woman had a baby. And I didn't understand much. And I watched my mother, like, would she be upset? And she wasn't. So the next day we woke up and I was listening to the adults talk. So this woman was on the streets. She was trying to go to her village. The bus left her and she was on the streets with her baby. And my dad said, no, you can't sleep here. Come to my house. Stranger. And explained there were no cell phones. So he knocks the door and walks in with a woman. But their relationship was so strong. He explained to my mother and she was like, oh, come, take some of my clothes. Here, give her a shower like the baby. And the next day they took her back to the bus stop and got her on a bus to go on her way. And I remember that, like, it sparked something in me. Being kind to a stranger, being kind to someone who's less privileged.
Yeah.
And that began something in my heart as a young girl, like having a heart towards those who are in need. And so when I met Dennis and he would share his story, later he told me that he would meet girls and his test was, I'm going to share my story where I grew up and, how underprivileged we were. And the next day the girl would not want anything to do with him. So that was his litmus test. So when we met, he was like, yeah, I grew up in the ghetto. Like trying to scare me. Yeah, we didn't have much and world vision. I was like, oh my goodness, that is amazing. Tell me more. And he's like, what? So
she was one stubborn one. You walk away.
So he's
scare her, but nah, tell me more.
And he told me like, I take care of my dad. I'm like, whoa, what a manly man you are at 19. Yeah. I got to go see my dad. He's sick. And he left, I remember, the city. When he came back, we didn't have cell phones. So I'm like tracking him down at church. How's your dad? How did it go?
There's no relationship there.
Yeah, before
Just
we even.
Before, yeah. So these were
before the singing lesson.
Before the singing lesson.
After seeing, this lady is asking about my dad, and we don't even have anything. We don't have but just caring, concerned, genuinely. Yeah. Oh man, I said she has to have some extra lessons for free. She's gotta be great lady going for 1, great lady going for 2, 3. She's gone.
So that was a common thread that, my grandmother always, like when we went to grandma's house, she had random kids. Like, grandma, who is this? Oh, the neighbor picked them up from whatever street. They didn't have anybody and they just bring them to my grandma's house. So it was common, and so when I met Dennis, I was like, dude, we can do something. When we got married, we're like, okay, we got to do something. And so we set up an orphanage back in Tanzania. And we were working, I think we began with like 12, orphans. And then we had some underprivileged kids that had parents, but didn't have much. So we would support them with education, school fees and all that.
Wow.
And it grew to 39 and those kids grew. Our only rule of thumb was when you grow and you get a job, you give back to those that are behind you. And so we work with that organization and we go into different villages and look, there's some really smart kids, but their parents can't afford to send them to school. And so we do that. That's been an underlying thread of ministry. And we love to work with non-Christian kids because eventually they're like, why me?
Yeah.
I'm a Muslim kid. Why me? And we're like, because Jesus loves you. And we've seen many of them turn to Jesus because we were able to help them achieve their dreams. I want to be a policeman. I want to be a doctor. I want to be, whatever. So that's something that we became very passionate about.
Wow.
Part of the Fountain of
Yeah.
Life ministry that we do.
And just being, speak about the Muslim, sometimes it's not just, like baiting, or we want to give you food or maybe help so that you could become,
Yeah.
just human,
Yeah.
they have a need here. And so by being an example, somebody can be attracted to, your system of belief.
Right.
Yeah, that was a goosebump test, man. I got hearing that story. I was like, wow, that is like
That was awesome.
that is awesome.
Now, I don't know if Dennis showed up at the doorstep with a woman and a baby that
You're not as
I would be like
not
my
as-
mother.
not as
Here,
understanding
take
as
my
your
coat.
mom.
I don't think so.
Well, you have cell phones now, so you can kind of like, hey,
No, you cannot bring her. Yeah, get her a room. I'll get her a room, Motel 6.
Babe, I got ministry right here.
Well, tell everybody, speaking of women with babies, but no, tell everybody about your kids. Like, you guys have 3 kids now. They're kind of growing up.
Yeah, dads are always bad with numbers, right? So
I
I
do
don't want to.
not know dates.
I don't want to butcher that. So
That's true.
Yeah, we have 3 adult children now. It's even what happened? Because
Yeah.
when we met, our youngest was 3 months.
Teeny weeny in the little carrier.
Who is now 21. So we have a 27-year-old Caleb. He works and he lives in Marietta. And then we have a 22-year-old Deborah. She's in Florida. Actually, she graduated a year ago from UCLA.
Yeah.
And then we were excited because now she was going to go to do her master's. And she went to ministry school.
yeah, we joke,
And we're like, where did you get
the
that
inside
from?
joke is, you went to a liberal school. Huh? You want to go cleanse yourself? Huh?
So she's going into her second year of ministry
Yeah,
school
that's funny.
and lives in Florida. And then we have the baby of the family, Joshua, who is going into his senior year of
that's
college
crazy.
at SDSU. He's a software engineer. He's the money guy. I'm like, oh, so you want to be an engineer? He's like, no, I want the money behind engineering. So we'll see what the Lord does with him. But yeah, we finally have adult children.
Yeah.
It seemed like it would never come, but you blink and it's here. So we're empty nesters finally.
Finally.
Wow. And so I remember, we'll give some information later on in the description when we post the YouTube channel and on our other outlets. But I remember, speaking of Dennis and his music, he's an amazing songwriter and people sing his songs all over the world. And
I told you he was famous.
yeah, and our myself and our son and who's a extraordinary
Just
recording
time out.
engineer.
I tried. He's reggae. I tried. He was kind and invited me to play on his album. I failed miserably. I cannot do reggae,
No.
but I do love reggae. So just so you know, I'm like, okay, go on.
Yeah, so we were
No,
really
for the
privileged.
records, great bassist, by the way.
We were really privileged to help him record his first album here in America of worship songs and amazing songs. So many great worship songs and fun songs like Celebration Chant, one of my favorite all times. He even taught us, like our choir at church, we did Africa Night for our pastor's 40th birthday, since he's from South Africa. And we did, the choir was all dressed up and we wore cool. Yes. Lulu loaned us some of her beautiful material and he taught us how to sing in Swahili and we had a great time. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your music, what you're doing with your music. Or
Honestly, music kind of took a turn a little bit after I got deep into school.
Oh yeah, well, that's
School and family. I figured, you know what, I can no longer do a lot of music. So, and then also, it was at a time when Deborah was coming up now, and you had you did also a great job along with other pastors in worship in the church. So as she was coming in, I felt that I need to pull back so that
Let
it's her time.
Yeah.
Generational kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
pulled back, and then she went on. And after being away for a while, I think I just left the music for a while. I left the music for a while, but
And now you're back.
yes, now I'm back.
He's back.
I'm back. and so I would have to gather. I used to have a nice website, but I'll send Teresa the link maybe where the music can be found. That music that was then, but I'm back.
Yeah.
And we'll try to do some work with this awesome team here.
Yeah, because we were talking earlier before the podcast about how maybe we could all go to Tanzania with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do some ministry there, which would be
Absolutely.
super fun. I'd be
Worship
excited.
workshop.
Go.
Is the Toto? Is that singing about Tanzania and Mount Kilimanjaro? Is that
Toto from the 80s?
Rain in Africa? Is
I
that
bless the rain down in Africa.
She loves that song. She's been talking about it ever since.
Okay.
That's where she wants to go. Is Mount Kilimanjaro.
Okay.
So,
I go on
yeah.
safari.
Okay.
We are from the mountain. Like our
Oh.
parents are, centuries back from the Mount Kilimanjaro. So that's home.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen pictures,
It's
and
incredible.
videos, like
Yeah.
movies.
Speaking of mountains, there's a walk he used to go on close by. It wasn't a mountain, but it's one of my favorite stories. It has to do with fish.
And you
And-
love to fish.
I love to fish, but this one is a very interesting story. I've never forgotten it. You told me years ago. And we just want to, we'll wrap it up with this.
Yeah.
But this story is so amazing, and I would just like you to share it with the audience.
Oh, wow. Well, life takes you through ups and downs. And just like the Bible says, there's trying times, there's tempting times. And so we were, at that particular time, we were going through a dry patch. It was a tough transition economically. We had lost a pool of business, and work was not coming along, and music was not happening. No call was happening. Ministry was really slow. So it was really a tough time. And so I just
we were eating a lot of rice.
yeah. So
Beans.
Mama House here had to really, feed the family with the staple, rice and beans. And so
And you had actually somebody living with you at the time.
yes, we had hosted our family members who had come. And I used to walk in the morning, Saturday morning, take a long walk, and there's this particular little mountain near the neighborhood. And I would go up that mountain and just spend maybe 2-3 hours praying, just talking to God, and just, my spiritual wellness. And so one day I go up that mountain, and I had a lot to talk to God, one of those, mano mano, really angry with God, and why this, why that.
Yeah.
And then after venting enough, I sat down, and just thinking, I'm looking, and the weather was kind of starting to it was foggy, 6 a.m., and now the sun was coming out. And I just said in a very simple way, maybe a simple prayer, I said, Lord, I see the Bible talks about, manna. The Israelites waking up and finding manna. It would be nice if this I just walk or maybe on the street and find like a bag of money or something, or maybe
Would be very nice.
would be really cool. I say that it would be really nice, and that was it. So I sat there, my time was up, picked my my notebook, and I walked down that little mountain. As I'm walking down the foot, I just had a still voice, turn to your right. And I turned and I looked, and there was a little kind of shiny thing. And I was curious. So I went to look, and lo and behold, I found just a fish like the length of my arms. And I'm surprised. So I'm shocked. What is this? And I touched, it's cold. And I looked, the ice.
And this is laying on the ground.
On the ground.
Okay.
There's grass and all this, of
So
course.
the grass, I remember, was like my height, like tall,
Oh.
short, but my height, like
Yeah,
tall
wrong,
grass.
yeah.
Oh.
So there was a patch that like
Oh.
tall grass, and then there's this patch
Yeah.
Flattened out.
with
Yeah.
flattened out. So it's like you get curious, like what is there?
Mhm.
Because he took me to
Later,
see
to
it.
go and see it. Yeah.
I had to go see it. Like, where,
Yeah.
did you steal somebody's fish? Like, really, Dennis?
Yeah, and then the firewood pieces, the fish was on top, so it's not like soil and mud.
A couple
and
of
dirt.
logs.
Oh,
No, yeah, a
wow.
couple
Yeah.
of like fire logs just seated right there. So my first inclination was, is this a setup? Is there somebody maybe around? There's no houses here. There's nothing.
Being
The road is
punked.
quite a bit of a distance. You have to walk into that area. And I'm assessing everything just to rule out, And then I look up the tree. Is somebody setting me up or something? And as I'm looking, just shocked and turning the fish and trying to carry it literally cold. So I said, you know what? What is this? And I remember very well, the voice said, what did you ask while you're up there? And I just, wow. Yeah, I did say it would be really nice. But now here I am really scared. Beware what you ask for, right? So anyway, I said, okay, I get the point. But, maybe did somebody bring it then? I'm trying to look. I can only see my footsteps. I don't see any other foot. So I said, okay, fine. Let me rush back. And if it's God, then okay, I'll find it. Because people had started kind of coming, it's a trail that people would
Yeah,
normally walk
okay.
up the mountain. And so, well, if it's there, it's there. And as I'm walking back, I'm trying to run, rush. And I had again, if I give you something, I've given you, nobody will take it.
Wow.
So I started walking. But I'm antsy, like, man, And I get there, I wake my brother-in-law up. I said, hey, look, man, there's something I found. I just want you to come with me. So we get into the car and I tell me, get that bean, I said, what is it? I said, man, I just found this stack of fish. I said, well, you just went for a walk, did you? I said, no, anyway, we get in the car, we drive by there, park the car, go there, still there. Literally, if you go to a fish market, flies would kind of come on top of the fish, and they were literally not being, at that time, because the sun had started coming. So I observed, he looked at the fish, he was very familiar with fish, he's like, you know what, this fish is fresh. So we picked the fish up. He told me, this is God's, man. You don't have to ask me any questions. This is God. This is a miracle. So we took the fish, put them into this bean, and then we drove back. Now we got home. She'll tell you what
I was
happened.
not home. And so they started like scaling the fish and cutting it up. It literally took them the whole day. But my sister-in-law started cooking the one that was ready and made this big pot of fish, curry and rice. And the kids were so excited because we had kids very similar age. Ruth, Deborah's cousin. Yeah, Ruth and her sisters were there.
Okay.
So all the kids were like, miracle fish, excited. Like, we're not eating beans tonight. And I remember looking at the fish and I was like, there's no way I'm eating this. What if it's poison? The health department hasn't inspected it. My American ways had set in. And so everybody sat at the table and was just, we prayed and read serving fish. I was like, I'm going to have rice with butter maybe. But I remember thinking, like playing this in my mind, like, okay, so I'm watching. Everybody's like, oh, so good, so good. And I'm thinking, okay, so tomorrow morning, I'm going to be the only one waking up because they're all dying because they ate poison fish. And so I was playing this in my mind, the news reporter. So Mrs. Massawe, please tell us how you let everybody in your house eat the poisoned fish and you didn't eat. And I could see the mic being passed to me. I was like, okay, give me fish. The only reason I ate it is because I didn't want to be the only one alive. I'm allowed to tell the story. No. So
you don't want to go to jail for fish.
No, because I would be the prime suspect.
Now the suspect
You're
is in
the
custody.
only one. I was like, jail or be with Jesus? Be with Jesus.
Yeah.
So I remember eating and going, oh, Lord, my daddy's going to miss me. My brothers. Well, we ate the fish. I went to bed really like waiting for it to kick in, like I'm going to die. And he's like, what are you tripping about? This is God's provision. I'm like, God, So we woke up the next morning. He's like, "Good morning. Do you want fish?" I was the doubting Thomas. It literally took me 2-3 days to come to terms. Like, okay, it is God. But we ate fish every day.
That was about
Gladly.
two and a half months.
About 2.5 months. It was that much fish.
Because what kind of fish was it? Like,
Yeah, so out of curiosity, like what type of fish is this? So I took it to Stater Brothers, and the guy looked at it and said, "This is a sea bass." And he said, "Where do you get it from?" I said, do you do deep sea fishing?" I said, "No, I don't do nothing.
I don't have
I
a
said,
boat.
I don't have a boat or nothing." Okay, well, how did you get it? Where did you buy it? I said, "I just found it, when I was walking." So crazy.
No,
there's
they
no
looked
way.
at him sideways. Like,
What are you talking about? This is a sea. Do you know sea bass? I said, "Well, now I know one." And he said, "The only place you could get a bass here is Lake Diamond. And that's a lake bass. It's not this one. So, brother, I don't know where you got this, but this is fresh." And then for second opinion, because I was just like curious, I went to this guy who does a lot of fishing. And he asked me one question. He said, "Okay, when you got that fish, when you cut it, did the blood pop out or there was no blood?" I said, "Well, every one of them." When my brother-in-law was cutting it a piece, just red blood. He said that fish was as fresh as it can be.
wow.
That like fresh from the waters. Because he says once it comes out of the waters and it stays out a little bit for a while, the blood percolates. So, and then it starts stinking.
Wow.
So I said, he cut the whole thing for about maybe 2.5 hours. And there was no smell. It was just fresh. So he told me, "By the way, wherever you got this, how many do you get?" I said, "About 7 of them." 7! "Do you know how hard it is to get this sea bass?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "By the way, there's a certification. You have to get a certificate training to know how to, to catch them because they're very hard to get." As I say, master fishermen who go with the bigger infrastructure are the ones who are able to catch them, many. Wow. So I was like, well,
Miracle
I
fish.
just found it, I guess we gotta call it a miracle fish. So that's the
I
story.
think that's our title. Miracle Fish.
Miracle fish.
Yeah, that would make a nice country song.
Yeah.
Here's your
Yeah.
next one.
How's that? Walking
Got
on
me
the road.
some
Walking on the
miracle.
road, that's a miracle, baby.
And there were 7 of them. 7.
7.
Yeah.
Bass.
Number of perfection.
Number of perfection. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, any shout outs you want to do before we wrap it up?
Maybe my wife here. Where you want to start?
Well, we're grateful. Thank you so much for having us on the podcast. It was definitely fun. Yeah, we're honored to be here. God bless you. And we look forward to making a trip to Tanzania
Yeah.
with you guys and Noel.
Hey,
Yes, shout out to Noel.
Shout out to Noel in the studio.
Yeah. Noel's producing us.
Yes, I want to thank you too for having us. We've come a long way. We've seen God and faith
Yeah.
and standing together.
Yeah.
We have a lot of testimony to share, and we've seen you also standing. No wonder you have this concept of a podcast of faith. You are not just talking theoretically. You have been through it. We know. And those people who know you, they know. So we're glad to be part of the journey.
Yeah.
And we do hope and pray that our information here today will somewhat inspire someone out there. We just have given you a balcony to see faith, to see for those who are not married how to get a wife,
Promise voice lesson.
and so forth and so on. Thank you so much. God bless.
Yeah. Well, I have to, let me just say this real quickly. And because Dennis and Lulu are such prayer warriors and they have stood with us. And especially for those of you guys know our story, a lot of you, about when our daughter Noelle was in the hospital with brain cancer. We didn't know if she was going to live or die. And honestly, like they tell us, oh, this is happening. That is happening. The doctor would be, okay, now we're going to do surgery. I mean, first, I text our pastors. The second person I'm texting is Dennis and Lulu. This is what's happening, and pray. And I knew whatever they were doing that they would, I mean, because, a lot of people will say, oh, we're praying for you, and for me, like if somebody asks me to pray, then I know I got to pray right that minute. I'll put it on my list, but I need to pray now. But sometimes people would just say, yeah, I'm praying for you, but I knew that they would be praying, and their prayers, I knew were always a big support to us the whole time that Noelle was in the hospital. And so you guys have been standing in faith with us for a very long time. And so we love you guys and appreciate you so much for doing this tonight. And, 10th time's the charm.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
It is.
An inside joke. Yeah. So, anyways, we've been trying to do this for, I don't know, we were like 5 years old when we started. It's been a while. So anyways, everybody, thank you for joining us. I hope you had fun. And remember, voice lessons and fish. All right.
Peace out.